You're watching the Randy Alvarez Business Report. I'm Randy Alvarez. Today's topic, what you need to know about reverse mortgages. More than 2,000 people every day are getting reverse mortgages. They become mainstream, very popular. And my first guest is an expert on the topic. We've got lots of questions for him today. Steve Nieto. Steve, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Randy. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, before we get into today's topic, tell me a little bit about your company. You're a mortgage loan officer.
Yes.
And you are focusing right now on reverse mortgages. You
Correct.
like them.
Yeah, I think they're great. I mean, there are a lot of people in this country, throughout the country, that need this type of product. Very popular right now. Like you said, over 2,000 a day, 750,000 last year. And there are a lot of eligible baby boomers coming into the age where they're going to want to do this product because they need to for a lot of reasons.
Reverse mortgages. Because I said, there are a lot of people doing reverse mortgages. We talked in the green room and you said about 2,000 people every single day.
That's correct.
Are getting reverse mortgages. So it's become, I guess, accepted.
Exactly.
But people are still afraid of them. Is that true?
That's true. I think they're becoming more accepted because there's more information for the people to become more aware of the product and the fact that the fallacies and the questions they had about them are no longer relevant questions, because that's accepted. The more baby boomers are coming of age, are getting to the point now they're living longer. They didn't plan well financially. They don't have the resources to allow them to live the lifestyle they want. And this product here gives them that opportunity.
So let's begin then with who should get a reverse mortgage and why?
Well, the people I think that should get reverse mortgages are those people that find themselves financially stressed to the point where they can't afford to make their mortgage payment. They find themselves in the situation where month by month they are struggling financially based on the limited amount of income they have to make that payment. And why is because this gives them the opportunity to live their lives the way they want and stay in the home that they want to live in for the rest of their lives. It gives them the opportunity to take their wife out for dinner, to take their grandkids to Disneyland, to do the things that they want to do with their grandkids and their family. Otherwise, they know that they can't do anything. Ultimately, they probably lose their house if they continue to live in that particular set of circumstances.
But if they are, like you say, I'm paraphrasing, strapped for cash, right, on a tight budget, and they live to make that house payment, and they're doing it probably because they want to keep their house. They don't want to lose their house. So why would they want to get a reverse mortgage?
Because by getting a reverse mortgage allows them to keep their house. They're not going to lose their house.
So they still own the house?
They own the house. They're still on title. It's just another loan. It's the opposite of a regular mortgage where you pay principal and interest every month and you pay down the loan, you develop more equity. This is the opposite. Now you're taking out a loan on the house. Typically, the reverse mortgages are people that completely own their home or they have a small mortgage that's paid off by this new loan, and they draw off the equity of the house. That's what a reverse mortgage is.
And their payment goes away.
Their payment goes away. They don't have to worry about paying that loan back until they either move out of the house, they sell it, or they're out of it for 12 months. Then at that point in time, they have to pay off the loan.
Yeah, but what about the person that, okay, so like you mentioned, and I think you said they don't have to have a ton of equity, but they want to leave their home to their children.
Exactly, Randy. That's the whole purpose of the reverse mortgage, to allow them to keep the house. And the misconception is the bank's going to own the house. That's not true. The bank is only going to get paid back the interest and the amount of loan and the costs are absorbed with the loan. The family, the heirs, the spouse that's still around after the one husband or wife dies, they get the property. They get to keep the property. There is still the equity that they get to keep. That's a misconception that a lot of people have, unfortunately.
Okay, good. Now, with Sovereign Mortgage, I have that right. When you get these incoming calls, what are the frequently asked questions that people are asking?
We get a lot of calls because these clients want to know, right now the rates are really low. So maybe they did a reverse mortgage a year ago, 6 months ago, and the rates were higher. They call because now their house is appreciated, they can get a lower interest rate, and they can take more money out of their house. And we're able to do that.
And still have no payment.
Exactly, and still have no payment. Exactly. Another frequently asked question is, do I get to keep my home? And we talked about this earlier. They all are concerned, do I get to keep my home? You know, my friend told me that I can't keep the house, the bank's going to own it. That's not true. And I explained to them that they get to keep the home. Well, my grandkids, my son and daughter wants to know if we're going to have anything to give to them. I explained to them, there is always, if there's equity in the house, they're going to be able to get your estate and pass it on to them. So that makes them happy.
Now, you do all types of loans on homes.
Correct.
Reverse mortgages. I think we talked on the phone. Does it give you more satisfaction?
Oh,
I mean, is this a happier group of client, I guess I should say?
the reward,
reverse mortgage?
exactly. The reward that we get when we're able to help a widower of someone who's lost a spouse, who cannot afford the home, who wants to remain in the house, who has no other options, and they have a tremendous amount of equity in the house, the satisfaction I personally get knowing that that person gets to stay in the house, their stress is gone.
Have you had that happen?
Oh, we've had it happen several times. I had a lady recently who lost her husband. Similar situation. She couldn't pay for the mortgage. She had no other options. But she did have a lot of equity in the house. And when I was able to get the loan done from her, she was ecstatic. This particular person had a payment of only $625. May not seem like much to you and I, but to this person with limited income, it meant the world to get rid of that particular payment off her shoulders and knowing that she could forever not have to worry about that. That was a great experience.
Okay, so I understand this correct. So she had equity in the house.
Correct.
Payments are $625. Husband passes away.
Correct.
She gets a reverse mortgage. That payment is, she no longer makes payments.
Correct.
She has another loan on the home, and she stays in the home, but she does have to pay something, right?
She has to take care of her property taxes and her insurance, and she has to maintain the house in good repair. She cannot let the house go to irrepair. In other words, she can't let the roof go. She can't let other portions of the house, because that would also result in a default on the mortgage.
Okay, I think we talked about the phone. You say that a lot of people want to do reverse mortgages, but their friends talk them out of it.
Correct. Well, if it's not their friends, it's their kids, because the kids are worried about the inheritance. They think they're going to lose their inheritance.
So senior citizens don't lose their homes.
Correct.
Is that right? This is an option for them.
Correct. Now, the concept of reverse mortgage is you have to be at least 62 years of age. It has to be your primary.
That's young today.
Yeah. In today's society, that's young. People are living longer. People are living longer lives. 62 is very young. But what we're finding is people nowadays are reverting to reverse mortgages at a lower age. 5 years ago, it was 75 years. Now it's 70 years, and the age is going down every year because they have to tap into their equity. They have no other resource. They have no other way to enjoy their retirement.
Okay, but let's just suppose somebody does have equity in their house, right? They're 70s. They're on a fixed income, and maybe their payment's like about $800 a month. Is that realistic? I mean, that scenario, $800 a month?
Yeah, that's realistic.
$1,500 a month payment? But they need some cash. Why not just take a home equity loan on this one?
The problem with the home equity loan is twofold. Number one is it's income qualification, number one. If they have a limited income stream right now, they probably won't qualify. Number two, you have to make monthly payments on an equity line of credit back to the bank.
Okay.
And with their limited funds and their limited stream of cash flow, that's an impossibility for a lot of these people. Yeah, we had a client in particular who was in a bad financial situation, had a payment of approximately $1,000 a month. She wanted to pay off her mortgage. She took a reverse mortgage. Not only that, she paid off her loan. She doesn't have to pay anything back until the loan is completely exhausted by either sale of the house or she moves out. But she was able to pull cash out as well and enjoy that cash.
How much?
$80,000.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of money. And it entitled them to do whatever they want. You can use it for whatever needs you want. You can go on vacation, you can pay off medical bills, and that's becoming a big problem nowadays. These people are developing medical issues that require a lot of expenses, and this is a way to tap into your house to get that money.
So I asked you earlier, who's an ideal candidate for a reverse mortgage? Okay, so it's anybody that has a monthly payment on their house, $800. What's the high end of payments that could take advantage of this?
Well, we've seen payments as high as a couple $1,000s for professionals. I mean, you'd be surprised. There are professionals that are taking reverse mortgages as well because they didn't financially plan appropriately. They don't have the resources to enjoy their retirement.
So no $2,000 a month payment.
Correct.
And it's like you're taking another loan on the house. And here's my question, because I'm not even sure I fully understand a reverse mortgage, okay? You say there's 2,000 reverse mortgages happening every single day. It's become mainstream, an acceptable way to, a financial decision to get a better cash flow. But let's say you do this for 6 months, a reverse mortgage, right?
Correct.
Everybody warned you, don't do it. You've wiped out your $1,000 or $2,000 a month payment. And you say, you know what? Rates are dropped. I want to refi. I want to get out of this reverse mortgage. Can you do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can get out of it. There's no prepayment penalty. You can get completely out of the loan. As long as you have the ability to qualify for the new loan, a conventional loan, absolutely, you can get out of the reverse mortgage. By the way, there's a 3-day rescission period too on the reverse mortgage. You can also get out of reverse mortgage by selling the house. You can sell the house and that will take care of the loan. That'll pay off the loan.
So I guess the biggest fear, based on what you've told me on the phone, is people don't want to get taken advantage of. Is that right?
Correct.
Maybe a loved one dies or whatever, they can no longer afford the monthly payment. Reverse mortgage wipes out the payment. You say though, even if they say yes to everything you say, they have to go to a third party.
Correct.
Tell me about that.
Every reverse mortgage requires, the FHA requires you to go to counseling with a counselor who's going to ask you questions to make sure you're thoroughly aware of the pros and cons and you know what you're getting into for an hour and a half to make sure that these people are completely informed about the effects and benefits of reverse mortgages.
And they're not linked to your company.
They're not linked to us at all. They are an independent source that there's a list of many that they can apply and contact and make appointments for to do this.
So when people go to this third party, are there ever positive results where they say, you know what, I'm glad, I even feel better about it?
Absolutely. We've had people that have come into our office that we've met with who initially were so hesitant about doing it because everyone's telling them, you don't want to do a reverse mortgage. This is not a good benefit for you. And they come in and say, you know, after speaking to the counselor, I became more advised. They're a third-party source away from you. Everything you tell me may be true, but hearing it from someone else put more validity into what we're doing. And that's why we're here to do the reverse mortgage. So I've had that happen, absolutely.
What's another question they ask when they call you about reverse mortgages?
Well, the first question they always ask is, how much money can I get out of my property? And of course, I tell them, well, it depends. How long would you take out your loan? Is your property appreciated? And then we find, because they find that the amount that they did apply for is not sufficient to help them get through their daily expenses. It's not enough for them to have a good cash flow. So they want more money.
They want to take more money out.
Correct.
So how soon? So if somebody picks up the phone now, they like you, right?
Correct.
You're a pretty likable guy.
Thanks.
They call you. How soon? I mean, do you have to go out and send an appraiser out there to let them know? I mean, what's the process like?
Well, the process is we have to take an application. We have to get certain forms of information from them, which is very limited. We got to get their date of birth. We got to get a copy of the mortgage statement. Got to get the property address. We have to make sure they qualify, first of all, age-wise, because if they're not at 62 years of older, then we can't do it. As long as you have equity in your home, you can do it. Even if you're behind on taxes, even if you owe mortgage payments that you're late on, you can still qualify.
Yeah, but what if somebody's credit is bad because they are behind on their home?
That's not going to eliminate them from getting a reverse mortgage. I had a situation, Randy, where a client came to us who was late. They were going to lose their house, and we were able to keep them in their house. We were able to pay off that mortgage. We were able to give them the satisfaction of knowing they didn't have to worry about that anymore and help them stay in the house that they want to live in for the rest of their lives.
Was that one of your customers?
Exactly.
Were they doubtful? I mean, like you were the last resort guy?
Of course they were. They didn't think there was any hope. You know, they didn't think there was any hope. Fortunately, someone told them you should look into this, and they came to us, and we were able to help them.
Okay, so now they have no payment on their house. What was their payment? Do you know?
I think the payment was $1,200 a month, but they couldn't afford it because they had limited retirement income and disability income. So they had a very limited stream of income. But here's the big benefit here. $1,200 a month, you know what that bought them? It bought them the luxury of knowing that they didn't have to make that payment anymore. It bought them the luxury of knowing that they could live in the house for free because they're not making any payments. It bought them the luxury of knowing that they could actually enjoy their lives and have the lifestyle that they've grown accustomed to living and enjoy themselves together and not have to relegate to a lower, sell the house and move out into an apartment.
Do you think that there's people that because of the negativity, maybe their friends or family about reverse mortgages, they'd rather lose their house than do a reverse mortgage?
I think sometimes they shy away from it because they think it's a negative type thing and they don't want to, I guess they don't want to insult, or maybe their friends, they don't want to tell their friends I'm doing a reverse mortgage when in fact it's going to benefit them.
So if somebody's payment is like $500, $1,000, up to $2,000 or more per month, right? And they have some equity, like 70% loan to value, depending on age, that it's like another loan is put on the house. Is that correct? Government backs this. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And they no longer make monthly payments. They still own their home. And if they want to get out of this, there's no prepayment penalty like in 5 or 6 months. They can refi and get out of the reverse mortgage and go back to a regular mortgage. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's absolutely.
Now, there's fees, though.
Well, there are fees involved. If they didn't loan, there are fees. A loan's not going to be without fees. Well, there's also mortgage insurance premium you have to pay to ensure that the government's going to back the loan. One of the great things with the reverse mortgage, if you take out a reverse mortgage and the property depreciates and you owe more on the property, the loan than what the property's worth, your heirs are not going to have to pay for that. But there's no more money owed. It's not a responsibility you pass on to your family or your heir. That's a great thing.
So you own the house. You still retain equity in the house. You can refi after 6 months. And so people are doing it. I mean, every day. This is a very popular.
Every day. Well, we're seeing a lot of right now. We're seeing a lot of people calling us because the rates are low. They want to get a lower rate, and they're pulling more money out because their homes are starting to appreciate.
What's the best story you've ever heard as far as money pulled out? Like maybe even you didn't do it. Somebody within your company.
Well, I've got several stories, just one of which we had a lady who was pretty wealthy who established a great retirement plan for herself. She's got financial advisors who's advised her appropriately, but she also had a tremendous amount of equity in her property. So she was finding that based on the amount of money she was getting from her retirement plan was not sufficient to meet her needs. She wanted more income stream. Rather than going and taking money out of her equity from her retirement account, which her advisors advised her against because she was going to suffer some penalties, they advised her to take money out of her house because there was nothing owed on the house.
On a reverse mortgage.
On a reverse mortgage. That's one story. I have another story where a client, he was a retired pharmacist who went back to pharmacy, part-time pharmacist who was struggling making his financial obligations. He came to us and said, I'm considering a reverse mortgage. Some of the questions we asked, well, when you leave this great world, do you have any heirs? Who's going to get the house? I don't have any heirs. I don't have any family. Well, who are you going to leave the property to? I'm going to leave it to charity. I said, you rather struggle right now financially.
Like what's the payment on a guy like that?
It was like,
do you recall?
$1,500 a month.
Okay, so he's making a payment of $1,500 a month.
And he's struggling because he didn't set himself up financially for the future. He came to us and said, look, I'm interested in this reverse mortgage, but I'm concerned. And we said, what are you concerned about? I'm concerned about having enough to leave to the charity. Well, why don't you leave this to your heirs? I don't have any family. I don't have any heirs. And I said, you'd much rather struggle and give this to charity and knowing that they're going to get all of this equity in your house. He goes, I never really looked at it that way. And then based on that conversation, he decided to go with the mortgage, with the reverse mortgage. And we helped him. He was able to pull money out of his house, and he was able to live comfortably ever after.
Now, we're closing in on time, but if somebody's watching this, maybe they just tuned in, we're talking about reverse mortgages. Over 2,000 Americans are getting reverse mortgages every single day. It's become mainstream. We're talking to a loan officer here, Steve Nieto. But somebody just tuning in now, or maybe they've been watching, and they're still skeptical. What do you want them to know, or what do you want them to do? What's the first step for them?
Well, the one thing I would like them to do, Randy, is call us because we will answer any and all of their questions. We will give them advice. We'll send them information that they can read up on reverse mortgages. We'll be able to help them and guide them through the process so they'll better understand the principles of reverse mortgage and how we can help them put them in a much better position.
So they finally decide to call you. What's that call like? Like, as far as time, like how long does it take on that telephone call for you to get an idea that, yes, they could probably do this?
The call probably, Randy, is about 10 minutes. Basically, I'm going to talk to them, get to know them a little bit, make them feel comfortable in knowing who they're dealing with. Because oftentimes when they get the mailer from us or they see a commercial, they're not knowing who they're dealing with. What's the name of your company? I send them to our link. I try to make them feel comfortable knowing that we're a reputable firm. Then I'm going to ask them information questions about what their rate is. What's your current interest rate? Pull out your mortgage statements. Tell me what your rate is. How much you owe in your house? Have you had your house recently appraised? Do you owe any money back on taxes? Do you owe any money back on insurance? Do you have any other liens on the property? How long do you plan on living in the house? Is it going to be a short-term loan or a long-term loan? These are all questions that I ask them to try to find out what's the best benefit for them in going forward with the reverse mortgage.
And if you have equity, just so I'm clear on this, you could even have some tax issues.
Correct.
As long as you have some equity in your house. It's just you want to make sure that they have equity, that they own the home. and then are they skeptical? Because it seems too good to be true. Before I met you, I used to watch these commercials. I used to say, it just sounds too good to be true. You know, if you have a mortgage payment, you no longer have mortgage payments and you still own the home. I mean, they must ask these same things, right?
Exactly. And they say the same thing. This is too good to be true.
Yeah, it does.
Are you really telling me that I can get rid of my mortgage payment completely, not have to make payments, and not have to worry about it until I die or move or sell the home? Are you really being honest with me with that? Of course I am. And you know, the joy that they receive from knowing that. There are a lot of people that try to prey on these elderly people because they're so vulnerable. They'll try to direct them to a mortgage company that's not ethically sound. They're not giving them the proper advice. They're taking advantage. They're receiving fees for helping them get into something that's free. Randy, there's something I want to clarify that you mentioned earlier. Actually, most of the loans that we do are properties that have no mortgage or have a small mortgage. The larger your mortgage, the less you're going to get back as far as able to do a reverse mortgage. So these mortgages aren't for everyone. But a lot of these people they're older people, so they've been paying on their mortgage for a lot of time, so their mortgages aren't that great. But they just don't have the ability to continue to make that payment. That's the thing that bothers them.
So the older you are, the more you can take out. Is
the
that
older
true?
you get allows you to take more money out of your reverse mortgage because you're developing more equity in that property. So typically we see the older people able to get more money on these reverse mortgages.
Now, have reverse mortgages, for the most part, been the same all along?
No, they've changed to the better for the borrower throughout the years. In fact, one of the big developments that just recently happened this last year, beforehand, if both spouses were not on the loan, once the spouse that was on the loan passed away, the surviving spouse would have to sell and move out of the house. New legislation now has protected that spouse. Even though they're not a borrower, they can still remain in the house. So that's great. And I think that relieves a lot of the tension and concern and the anxiety a lot of these homeowners have, knowing that perhaps their spouse is going to be homeless if they were to pass before them. So that's a great thing.
So somebody that owns their home and they have a mortgage, $600, $1,500 a month, they get newly married. Maybe they've been in the house 30, 35, 40 years. They get newly married. 10 years later, the new spouse is not on the loan. I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. The person that's on the loan passes away. You're saying that the new spouse stays in the home and is like grandfathered in on that reverse mortgage, and there's no payments on that home until the spouse passes away?
Correct. Beforehand.
Interesting.
Yeah. Beforehand, the way it would work, if both spouses were not on the loan, once the one spouse died that was on the loan, the surviving spouse either has to sell the house, refinance the house, and move out of the house. And that's scary for a lot of elderly people, to knowing that they face that situation. In fact, what was happening was a lot of the spouses, a lot of the borrowers were keeping their spouse off the loan in order to get more money on the house because they're older than their spouse. Because the amount of money you can take on a loan reverts to the age of the youngest spouse, not the oldest spouse. So a lot of borrowers were keeping the younger spouse off the loan for that purpose.
Oh.
And this developed this situation where they were having to sell and get out of the house. Somebody finally took this to legislation, and the courts decided with the surviving spouse that she can stay in the house.
And it seems like with this new economy that homes are going up a little bit.
Correct.
So in that scenario you talked about is maybe every 3 or 4 or 5 years, you might be able to take some money out.
Correct.
And still not make payments.
Correct.
On the money you took out.
Correct.
Is that true?
Correct. Correct.
But also, just so I'm clear on this, if the new spouse says, you know what, I don't like a reverse mortgage, I just want to refi the whole thing, get it back completely in my name, they could do that.
Sure.
They have to qualify, but they can do that.
Exactly.
So you always own the house.
Correct. The house is always in the title of the homeowners and borrowers. It never leaves title. It's always in their name, just like a regular mortgage.
So you love reverse mortgages.
I think
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but do you love reverse mortgages?
I think reverse mortgage is a great loan for people that really have the need. And we're seeing more and more people evolve throughout the country, universally, that need reverse mortgages. So in that sense, yeah, I love the opportunity to have
So when you say need, define need quickly, because we are out of time.
Need are people that can no longer afford their mortgage every month, that have tremendous amount of equity in the property. Those people need a reverse mortgage. Those are the people that should get reverse mortgages. We're waiting for them to call us. I'll help them. You want to call me? I will help you.
Is that right? Okay, so Steve, a pleasure to talk to you, and I think I finally get it. I got it actually just in the last 5 minutes here. But so thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you,
Great
Randy.
information. Reverse mortgages. This is kind of your specialty. They can call you, and in about 10 minutes, they know whether where they stand.
Exactly.
All right.
Look forward to the calls. Thank you very much, Randy.
You've been watching Randy Alvarez Business Report. I'm Randy Alvarez. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching The Wellness Hour, the leader in medical news with your host, Randy Alvarez, the authority on health issues.